Ask that the meeting please come to order. My name is Ronald Cliff. I'm a director and co-chairman of the board of Canfor Corporation and will be acting as chairman of this meeting. And I'm delighted to extend a warm welcome to all of you today for the 31st annual general meeting of the Canfor Corporation as a public company and its 75th anniversary as a company. At this point, it's a great pleasure to introduce our President and Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Don Kane, who is seated here, and I will be calling on Don to address you later in the meeting. With your indulgence, I propose that any questions that you may wish to have be reserved until after you've heard from Don, unless the questions relate to the specific motion that's on the floor at the time. Also seated at the head table is Mr. David Calabrigo, Senior Vice President, Corporate Development, Legal Affairs, Human Resources, and Corporate Secretary. David will act as secretary of this meeting. I now would like to introduce our directors: Peter Bentley, Glenn Clark, Michael Kornberg, who is also co-chair of the company, Jim Pattison, Conrad Panett, Mac Singleton, Ross Smith, and Bill Stinson. All these gentlemen have worked very hard, and we appreciate, over the course of the years, their wise counsel. It's also very appropriate at this time to extend my personal appreciation for the contribution that all of the company's personnel have made during the past year. And I'd like also then to introduce the other senior officers of the company alphabetically. Onkar Athwal, Vice President, Human Resources. Alistair Cook, Senior Vice President, Operations Canada. Patrick Elliott, Vice President and Treasurer. Wayne Guthrie, Senior Vice President, Sales and Marketing. Mark Feldinger, Senior Vice President, Energy, Environment, Transportation, and Sourcing. Bob Hayes, Vice President, Transportation, Procurement, and Distribution. Christine Kennedy, Vice President, Brand and External Relations. Alan Nicol, Senior Vice President, Finance and Chief Financial Officer. Doug Worsler of Myrtle Beach, President, Canfor Southern Pine, and Tom Lewis, Vice President, Woodlands Canada, who is not here today. I hereby appoint the Canadian Stock Transfer Company as its administrative agent for the CIBC Mellon Trust Company to act as scrutineers for the meeting. And I would now ask Mr. Calabrigo to deal with the notice of the meeting.
Mr. Chairman, the notice calling the meeting was mailed to all shareholders of the company entitled to receive such notice. Canadian Stock Transfer Company, as administrative agent for CIBC Mellon Trust, has provided us with a certificate as to the mailing, and a copy of the certificate being kept for the records of the company.
Thank you. I now also ask the secretary, have you received a preliminary report yet? You have? I'll ask him to give the preliminary scrutineer's report.
We're pleased to report that there are 90 shareholders holding 116,347,461 shares, or 81.5% of the issued capital, represented in person or by proxy at this meeting.
Thank you. As chairman of the meeting, I adopt the scrutineer's report and declare the attendance at this meeting to be as they have set forth. And in accordance with that report, I declare a quorum present and that the meeting is duly constituted for the transaction of business. I would ask those who have kindly agreed to move and second motions to also be kind enough to give their names and to state that they are shareholders or proxy holders. As you all know, there are certain necessary motions that must be made and seconded at an annual general meeting. In order to expedite the meeting, some shareholders have graciously agreed to make or second these various motions, but it is no way intended to inhibit any questions or discussion with respect to the motions. The minutes of the last meeting of shareholders are available for perusal by any shareholder, and unless someone wishes to have them read, I will entertain a motion to take them as having been read and approved. Thank you, Ms. Sine. A seconder?
My name is Sweeney. I'm a shareholder of the company.
Thank you, Ms. Meany. You've heard the motion. All in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Contrary, if any, declare the motion carried. The next item of business is to place before the meeting the consolidated financial statements of the company for the year ended December 31st, 2012, together with the auditor's report thereon and the report of the directors to the members. These statements and reports are contained in the annual report, which was mailed to shareholders, of which copies are available outside as you enter the room. And unless there are any questions regarding the statements and reports, I will take them as having been received by the meeting. It is now time for the election of directors, and the meeting is open to nominations.
My name is Mark Felder, and I'm a shareholder of the company. I nominate Peter J.G. Bentley, Glenn D. Clark, Ronald L. Cliff, Michael J. Kornberg, James A. Pattison, Conrad A. Annette, J. McNeil Mac Singleton, Ross S. Smith, and William W. Stinson as directors of the company to hold office until the next annual general meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Feldinger. The persons nominated are management's nominees for election, as was stated in the information circular mailed to shareholders of the company. Are there any further nominations? There being no further nominations, I declare nominations closed. As only the required number of persons have been nominated, I declare that those persons nominated have been duly elected by acclamation as directors of the company to hold office until the next annual general meeting. The next item of business is the appointment of auditors, and it is the board's recommendation that the present auditors be reappointed. May I have a motion to that effect?
Mr. Chairman, my name is Michael Kornberg, shareholder of the company. I move that PricewaterhouseCoopers be appointed as auditors of the company until the next annual general meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Kornberg. Is there a seconder?
My name is Russ Martin. I'm a shareholder of the company, and I second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. All those in favor, please raise their hand. Contrary, if any? Declare the motion carried. Before calling upon Don to make some remarks for the company, I just wanted to make it very clear to the members that I am now co-chair of the company, along with Michael Kornberg, who is also co-chair of the company, and we plan to have that system or appointments last for the 75th year, so we can spread the problems of all the events going on in the 75th year. We've got enough chairmen to handle all these things. And just one comment that I made a meeting a couple of years ago, and I said that it's been years that we've been looking for the tunnel. We weren't even looking for the light at the end of the tunnel, but we've been looking for a tunnel. And finally, the good news is that we found the light at any rate at the end of the tunnel, and the U.S. housing and a great Chinese and Japanese market has helped develop into a very much more enjoyable financial situation. On that note, I call upon Don Kane.
It's an honor to be President and Chief Executive Officer at such an exciting time and to be part of such a great company with so much great history. 2013 is a special year for Canfor because it marks our 75th anniversary. Our company got its start way back in 1938 when brothers-in-law Polly Bentley and John Prentice built a mill on the Fraser River in New Westminster, and they started with 28 employees. Today, more than 5,000 people work for Canfor and Canfor Pulp across North America, China, Japan, and Europe. It is worth reflecting on our history as we look at what has been happening recently. Nothing could have prepared our industry for the devastating crash of the U.S. housing market. There were almost 2.1 million housing starts in the United States in 2005, and by 2011, this had dropped by 70% to 600,000. Needless to say, these were difficult times when things looked awfully bleak for our sector. It was a difficult time for many people, including our employees, our contractors, for our communities, and for the countless number of people who rely on the forest industry. But Canfor was able to get through it with the same kind of vision, courage, foresight, and leadership demonstrated by John Prentice and Polly Bentley. We owe a lot to our board of directors for their steady and prudent advice, and our shareholders for their ongoing support and confidence in Canfor. Today, we are also recognizing our proud corporate history with the introduction of a new archive and history resources on the Canfor website. We are also inviting our employees, people in Canfor communities, and our customers around the world to share photos and stories of Canfor. We look forward to seeing our company through other people's eyes, learning how Canfor touches communities at home and abroad, and engaging our key stakeholders as we plan for our future. For 2012, we are able to report improving overall results and guarded optimism for the years ahead. In 2012, we saw the first signs of sustained improvement in lumber markets since the U.S. housing downturn. In March, the seasonally adjusted annual rate for new housing starts exceeded 1 million starts again, which is more than double than what it was 2 years ago. Demand for our lumber is increasing and prices are moving higher. At Canfor, we had a 22% increase in total lumber production over 2011, reflecting acquisitions, internal expansion, and the restart of previously idle facilities. In 2012, Canfor Corporation achieved an operating income of $77 million compared to $12 million in 2011. The biggest improvement was in our lumber operations, where our operating income was $75 million compared to a loss of $82 million in 2011. On the pulp and paper side, prices and shipment volumes were lower, largely due to an extended scheduled maintenance outage at our Prince George pulp mill and an unplanned outage at our Northwood pulp mill. This led to lower operating results for the pulp segment in 2012. Canfor's pulp and paper segment had an operating income of $27 million, down from $153 million in 2011, which was a record year. We did see a slight improvement in global softwood pulp markets through the fourth quarter of 2012, with NBSK pulp prices improving on into Q1 2013. However, markets for pulp remain challenging. Canfor Corporation posted an operating income of $100 million for the first quarter of 2013. Of this, $19 million was attributable to Canfor Pulp. Our wood products business is performing well and achieved an operating income of $88 million in the first quarter. Canfor Southern Pine also had an excellent quarter, achieving production and quality targets and setting a record for profitability. Canfor Pulp made significant progress as well in its key performance indicators. We are also very pleased with the signing of a new energy purchase agreement with BC Hydro, expanding the green energy sales revenue stream for pulp. Overall, we're encouraged with these results and with improving market conditions overall for solid wood products. Looking ahead to the balance of 2013, we are encouraged by the consistent signs of improvement that we are seeing in the U.S. market. We are cautiously optimistic that the U.S. economy will continue to improve, although we still believe it will be a slow recovery. The strategic moves we have been making have positioned us for success as our markets improve and will continue to help drive our relentless progress toward top quartile performance across all our facilities in 2013. In 2012, we completed the purchase of Tembex assets in the East Kootenays, adding Canal Flats and Elko mills to our company. This acquisition included 1.1 million cubic meters of forest tenure in an area with limited exposure to the mountain pine beetle. It's one of the reasons why we were able to launch a new product line called Canfor Red in response to customer requests for lumber from areas less impacted by the mountain pine beetle. We chose to call this new product line Canfor Red because it is wrapped in our distinctive red corporate color, and it is a color that connotes strength, power, luck, and many other positive perceptions in cultures around the world. Over the last year, in association with the launch of our new red brand, we have also been modernizing Canfor's overall corporate brand. Our objective here is to build on our strong global recognition and our distinctive logo and red corporate color. We are focusing on the theme that there is no substitute for red and there is no substitute for Canfor. Our marketing success is solidly tied to the fact we are able to offer quality products due to our modern mills and access to high-quality fiber. We're getting great response to our marketing efforts internationally and at home, and are making solid progress in presenting Canfor as the company of choice for our global customers and our future and existing employees. I'm also pleased to announce that based on the great response we've had for our new red brand in the U.S. market, we are expanding the brand to include our J-grade products as well. While the red brand began in our Kootenay operations, it will now expand to all of our Canadian mills producing J-grade product, which is a product we ship exclusively to Japan for the most part. In addition to investing in our brand, we have also made significant capital investments. Over the last 3 years, we have invested close to $600 million into major capital improvements at our British Columbia solid wood operations, both sawmills as well as pulp mills. 2012 saw exceptional execution of our capital plans at our Prince George and Grand Prairie sawmills. We officially reopened our operations at Radium after investing $40 million to upgrade the sawmill and build a new planer mill, which had been closed since 2009. We installed a new kiln at Canal Flats and began a $40 million expansion projects at both Elko and Mackenzie operations, and they will be starting up in Q2 and Q3 of this year. And we are also investing $20 million in upgrades at our Houston sawmill. We are also seeing the benefits from our decision to reintegrate Canfor and Canfor Pulp. This brings together two excellent top quartile companies, allowing us to improve on our global competitiveness and increase our return on invested capital. We will continue to benefit from strong leadership. At the February board meeting, the Canfor Board of Directors appointed Michael Korenberg, as Ron mentioned earlier, co-chair of the Canfor and Canfor Pulp boards. The decision to have Michael and Ron Cliff co-chair both boards recognizes the growth of the companies, and we appreciate the wisdom and guidance that we receive from both of these gentlemen and every member of our board. Strong leadership and extremely committed employees are the reasons why Canfor has been in business for so long, and we wanted to find a way to honor this for our 75th anniversary. We felt a scholarship would be a wonderful tribute to the role our founding families have played in the development of people within Canfor. Our chairman emeritus, Peter Bentley, who is the son of one of our founders, Polly Bentley, has been a lifelong champion of education. As many of you will know, Peter served as the University of Northern British Columbia's third chancellor. I'm also fortunate because Peter was a mentor for me for many, many years, and I really appreciate that, Peter, all you've done for me over the last 34 years. In commemoration of our 75th, we have established the Bentley Prentice Award, which will recognize academic excellence among the children of current employees of Canfor and Canfor Pulp. Every year, we will award 6 scholarships of up to $5,000, one for each of our regions and divisions, to support qualifying students who are enrolled in forestry or trades-related programs. We know how important it is to play an active role in building our future leaders so we can be confident we have the talented and qualified people we need to maintain our high standards of quality and customer satisfaction. This is just one example of ways that we are working to address the shortage in skilled labor our sector is certain to face as markets improve. In 2012, Canfor invested more than $75,000 to support scholarships, bursaries, and awards for post-secondary students in education streams related to our business, and we are committed to building upon that strong base as we go forward. We are also an industry leader when it comes to workplace safety, something that makes our executive team and our board very proud. Safety has been extremely important to our company from the start and remains a key focus 75 years later. Every Canfor employee knows we want them to be safe. They have the right to refuse unsafe work, and they are encouraged to report any safety concerns they may have to someone in authority, up to and including myself. In 2012, we again realized solid safety performance and remain the industry leader. A major safety initiative in 2012 was focused around the 2 sawmill explosions in northern British Columbia. We worked closely with our colleagues in other companies to develop an industry-wide response and have been engaged with regulatory agencies to ensure that we share information and best practices. Canfor is committed to continuously improving management of combustible dust in our facilities, and we are working closely with all employees to do so. A company that can survive, let alone prosper, for 75 years obviously is one with strong roots, strong values, a talented workforce, a winning culture, great products, and exceptional customer satisfaction. One of Canfor's strongest values is sustainability. We build it into everything we do. We support it through our business models, through our independent forest certification, and through our customer relationships, and through the work of our employees across the company. You'll find many examples in our 2012 sustainability report, which we just published recently. In July, I talked about our values when I made a presentation to the Special Legislative Committee studying ways to increase British Columbia's interior wood supply after the mountain pine beetle epidemic. I told committee members that while Canfor would welcome opportunities that might improve the timber supply, we wanted to be sure we could maintain our high environmental standards. I said we would not support actions that put us at odds with obligations of our registered professional foresters or jeopardize our third-party forest certification. Just moving on to markets, our commitment to sustainability is one way we are able to tap into a new environmental paradigm in green building, which is opening doors for wood products globally and generating demand for the materials that we produce. Canfor has always been an innovator in global market development, and our exceptional global sales force is working to expand our reach in existing markets and to grow new and diverse markets for our products. We were the very first North American lumber company in China, and thanks to a fast decade of dedicated work, that nation has become the largest offshore destination for our lumber. Last year, Canfor surpassed 1 billion board feet in shipments to China, an extraordinary achievement that only a few would have imagined possible only 5 years ago. Here are some other facts worth noting. The BC lumber industry has become the largest supplier of lumber to China and surpassed Russia in 2010. In just 5 years, BC exports to China have increased 1,100% from less than $100 million to $1.1 billion in 2011 and 2012, respectively. It is likely to be higher again this year. 5 years ago, 10% of BC's export volumes were destined for China. Last year it was 32%. Canfor's success in the China market is owed in a large part to the hard work of our in-market president of Canfor Asia, Mako Liu. We're fortunate to have Mako here today. And Mako, if you could just stand up so you can be recognized, that would be great if you're here. There you are. Thanks, Mako. Last year, China imported more softwood lumber and logs than any other country on earth. Much of this was driven by housing demands, and while some are reporting reduced activity in this area in the short term, the long-term outlook remains strong. And so far, demand for our products has remained strong, even though there was an overall drop in China wood purchases. Canfor and BC saw our share increase. Through our collaborative efforts with the Canadian and BC governments and other industry partners, we are continuously strengthening and deepening our relationships with the Chinese government agencies at the local, provincial, and federal level. We are working with decision makers, developers, and customers so they can appreciate the many positive attributes of wood. We want them to see it as a great choice for any type of building project, large or small, new or renovation, residential or non-residential. We want them to know just how well wood frame construction performs in tough conditions, such as earthquakes and high winds. Thanks to our collaborative work in the last 12 years, the growing demand for housing and institutional structures in China is growing significantly, and a lot of that lumber, again, is coming from British Columbia and from Canfor. That said, China is just one major market where Canfor's market share is significant and growing. We accounted for nearly a third of the total shipments from British Columbia to the U.S. in 2012, and the same is true for our sales in China, Canada, and Japan. We're growing our market share in all of these key and expanding markets. We expect that as worldwide demand for softwood lumber starts to exceed supply, we will also have competitive advantage thanks to our expansion into the southern United States. Our Canfor Southern Pine operations are particularly suited to supplying certain U.S. geographies, while our Canadian mills are able to supply key U.S. customers as well as supporting the growing Asian demand for BC lumber. Canfor has a bright future ahead, built on solid foundation, a proud corporate history, and a respected brand. From its origins in 1938 with the founding Bentley and Prentice families, through Peter Bentley's tenure as President and Chief Executive Officer, and on to today, Canfor has been a major contributor of wealth and employment to our operating communities. The strong bond we have with these communities is the reason why we decided to have our AGM in Prince George this year and plan to hold anniversary events at facilities throughout our operating communities this year. I encourage you to watch for opportunities to participate. It is just one more way that we can thank you for your ongoing and continued support. Canfor has been part of the community of Prince George since the company acquired pulpwood rights in the area in 1962, and then went on to start up Prince George Pulp and Paper in 1965, and 1968 saw the start of the Intercontinental Pulp Mill. Of our 5,300 employees, more than 1,800 people, a third of the total, are employed in Prince George and the surrounding areas. In addition to PG Pulp and Intercontinental facilities already mentioned, we have the Northwood Pulp Mill as well, Prince George Sawmill, J.D. Little Nursery, and then close by we have the Isle Pierre and Polar Sawmills. So when the Canfor Winter Games, when the Canada Winter Games for 2015 was awarded to Prince George, there was little doubt that Canfor would step up as a significant partner. I'm pleased to announce today that Canfor and the Games Organizing Committee have come to an agreement that will see Canfor and Canfor Pulp provide nearly $450,000 in support to the Games through ticket purchases and lumber donations. The 2015 Canada Winter Games will be a spectacular showcase for the community of Prince George, and we're pleased to be a community partner. I certainly welcome the fact that our financial and market outlook is brighter as we move into 2013, but there are some things that will not change and haven't changed much since 1938. We will continue to provide excellent customer service and have a keen eye for opportunities to expand into new markets. We will continue to support our respected brand by investing in our mills and acquiring the best fiber for our quality products. We will also continue to make sure our production facilities are as safe and as efficient as they can be, and we will continue to manage our forests responsibly. And we will continue to reach out to potential employees, showing them the reasons why they should consider a career in our modern, forward-looking company, while making sure our existing employees have the opportunities that they deserve. I want to offer my sincere thanks to you for your support, and to my executive team and all of the Canfor and Canfor Pulp employees in British Columbia, Alberta, Quebec, North and South Carolina, and our offices in Japan and Belgium. Especially, I'd like to thank all the board members of Canfor and Canfor Pulp. Your excellent guidance and your firm commitment to our company were especially valued as we managed through some trying times. Thanks to your support and leadership, we were well positioned to benefit from improved market conditions and to plan for the next quarter century. That's a pretty unique opportunity, the ability to think, act, and plan for the longer term. Our management team really appreciates that opportunity being made possible for us by our board and our supportive shareholder base. I look forward to your involvement in many of the 75th anniversary celebrations, and thanks very much.
Thank you, Don. It's now the appropriate point in the meeting for any questions from shareholders. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, I'd ask for a motion to conclude the meeting.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Patrick Elliott. I'm a shareholder, and I move that this meeting be concluded.
Thank you, Mr. Elliott. A seconder?
Mr. Chairman, my name is Bob Hayes. I'm a shareholder in this company, and I second it.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes. All those in favor of the motion, please signify. Contrary, if any, declare the motion carried and the meeting closed. And thank you again for your attendance. We've enjoyed coming to Prince George for this, and thank you for coming to the meeting.